Power is a crown made of thorns, and sometimes, the most dangerous enemy is the one holding your pulse, while smiling. This is the story of a man, a leader who rose from the dust of betrayal, who looked colonial empires in the eye and said, "No more." But in the silence that followed, someone was planning something quieting, more lethal, more personal. Act I, a president grows weary. Cut to President Ibrahim Traoré walking through a golden hallway of the presidential palace. He clutches his chest subtly. The cameras never catch it. He was only 35. But in those days, Ibrahim Traoré looked like he carried centuries on his shoulders. The gold reform, the foreign media attacks, the assassination plots. It all wore down even the man with the warrior's heart. He'd stopped sleeping, not because of fear, but because he knew if he faltered, Africa would pay the price. His people called him the lion, but even lions bleed when the claws come from the shadows. Scene: medical unit inside the palace. Traoré sits shirtless, breathing heavily. A nurse wipes sweat from his brow. Voiceover: he started feeling dizzy, random chest pain, cold sweats. Breathing became harder, even in open air. At first, they thought it was stress, then malaria, then exhaustion, but nothing fit. And the worst part, his longtime physician, Burkina Faso, he'd known since his days in the army, was gone, transferred, just like that. No warning, no goodbye. In his place came someone new. Act 2, the arrival of Dr. Eli. Cut to a sleek black vehicle pulling up to the palace gates. Out steps a man in a white coat, tall, clean-shaven, calm eyes behind thin glasses. His name was Dr. Eli Nahum, born in Tel Aviv, educated in Geneva, trained in trauma medicine across Europe, fluent in French, English, Arabic, and oddly, a touch of Dioula. He walked into the room like he belonged, unassuming, smooth, silent, voiceover deeper tone. Poison doesn't always come in a bottle. Sometimes, it wears a stethoscope. He examined the president carefully, listened to his heart, checked his pulse, took blood samples, and then, smiling gently, he said, "Mr. President, you need rest, but I'll take care of you now." And just like that, a stranger became the guardian of the most powerful man in Burkina Faso. Cut to nighttime. Dr. Eli injecting a clear fluid into an infrared bag. He hums a lullaby in Hebrew. It started subtly. After a few days of Eli's care, Traoré's energy dipped further. His skin grew pale, his heart raced randomly, his thoughts slowed, like molasses in the heat. But everyone around him praised the doctor. He's brilliant. He worked in conflict zones. He treated Israeli generals. We're lucky to have him. Lucky or marked. There are moments in a man's life when he knows he is dying, but this was not that moment, because Ibrahim Traoré knew he was being killed. But not by war, by bullets. Not by bombs, by a needle. A quiet needle, held by a hand he had once trusted. Act I, the chamber of Lysine, presidential medical wing. Morning sun seeps through the blinds. Traoré lies in bed, pale. A nurse opens the door. Behind her walks Dr. Eli Nahum. The doctor's white coat flowed like a flag of peace, but to Traoré, it looked more like a shroud. Eli calmly, "Good morning, Mr. President. Slept any better?" Traoré weak smile. "Still the same. My chest tightens at night. Maybe it's the weight of the nation." Eli grinning. "Or maybe you've been working too hard for too long. Let's get you stable today." He prepared the sterilized the line. The vial gleamed in his hands. Clear, colorless, silent death. Voiceover tense. And yet, Traoré didn't stop him, because today was not about surviving. It was about watching, waiting, confirming. The doctor slid the needle in. Traoré's eyes didn't flinch, but his heart counted every second. Act 2. The trap within. Cut to elsewhere in the palace. Diarra sits in a surveillance room. Monitors track Traoré's vitals. A red alarm triggers. Captain Diarra stared at the readouts. Blood pressure spiking, neural activity slowing. The poison was working, but only on paper, because the 4-line, though it appeared functional, was rerouted. The real fluid? A saline placebo, cleverly switched using an internal microvalve installed just hours before. Eli was injecting nothing, and now, Traoré had proof of intent. But still, he stayed silent. Voiceover low, calculating. To kill a spider, you don't smash the web. You wait for it to believe you are stuck, and then you strike. Act 3. Theater of Shadows. Scene: Presidential Garden, late afternoon. Traoré, wearing sunglasses, walks slowly beside Dr. Eli. Birds chirped. Flowers bloomed. Guards stood at attention. But beneath the quiet, two men waged a war with words. Traoré softly. Eli, tell me something. Eli smiling. Course. Traoré, you've traveled a lot, haven't you? Sudan, Ethiopia, Mali, Congo. Eli, conflict zones. Where medicine matters most. Traoré pausing. Yes, where lives are fragile, and secrets are currency. Voiceover tight, suspenseful. It was a test. A provocation. Poke at the mask. But Eli didn't blink. He smiled. Deflected. Redirected. Eli, I've always believed. The body holds truths even the mind tries to hide. Traoré, do you think Africa has been poisoned, doctor? Eli pausing briefly. Maybe, but not by men like me. Act 4. The proof of death. Cut 2. Secret lab in the outskirts of the city. A biochemist examines a sample taken from an earlier fur bag. They thought they had buried him with a needle, but the roots of a revolution had already been planted, and what bloomed was not silence, it was thunder. Act I. The world reacts. Scene: international newsrooms in chaos. Anchors interrupt broadcasts. Flashing banners appear. Burkina Faso president survives Mossad poison plot. It was the headline they never expected. An African president, young, defiant, and alive, had exposed a covert assassination attempt. The accused, a foreign agent, dressed as a healer. Voiceover tight, sharp. Some called it unbelievable. Some called it conspiracy, but the evidence was undeniable. Blood samples, security footage. The agent's digital trail traced back to embassies, encrypted servers, and diplomatic shuttles. Cut to United Nations chamber. Western diplomats shuffle uncomfortably. African representatives stand united. Israel denies involvement. France calls it disinformation. But across Africa, no one's listening, because for once, the continent wasn't reacting, it was leading. Act 2. The trial of the masked healer. Scene: a special tribunal is assembled in Burkina Faso. No private courts. No hush money. The people are invited. Voiceover deep, reverent. Traoré could have buried the story, could have vanished the man in some silent prison, but he chose daylight, because truth deserves to be seen. Cut to a makeshift courtroom built in a public plaza. Cameras everywhere, citizens seated like jurors. Eli Nahum, in a prison jumpsuit, sits silently behind glass. No white coat, no mask, just a face stripped of pretense. Prosecutor to the crowd. This man did not come to heal. He came to erase a voice that refused to be bought. Evidence is shown. Vials, maps, communications from Tel Aviv. Intercepted messages coded with medical jargon, orders to reduce pressure on the subject using protein agents. Flashback overlay. Eli injecting Traoré's 4. Then the secret surveillance replayed in court. The world watches. In Kenya, kids pause their football match to listen on the radio. In Ghana, buses stop and drivers lean into CAF TVs. In Mali, markets go silent as old radios crackle with the verdict approaching. Voiceover steady, growing. This wasn't just about Burkina Faso anymore. It was about every nation that had been treated like a pawn. Every voice that had been poisoned for speaking too loudly. Act 3. The president speaks. Scene: the final day of the trial. Traoré walks slowly to the podium. No bodyguards. No bulletproof glass. Just him and his people. He speaks not with rage, but with clarity. Traoré calmly. They wanted to cut the stem, but forgot the root runs through every African soul. This man did not fail because he was careless. He failed because we were watching. Because for once, we believed in ourselves. Africa, not a body to dissect, it is a spirit to rise. Applause. Tears in the crowd. A woman clutches a photo of her son, lost in a past coup. She